at least for me, it was like, I'm okay,
Yes.
I didn't feel very different because I did ayahuasca before I went to the jungle.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, so I didn't see the shift that much.
Oh, okay.
But day by day, it hit me like I wasn't all that happy. I wasn't all that a little bit, maybe a little bit depressed. Not really, not really depressed, but a little down. A little low.
Yeah.
And eventually, I had the talk with Sophia.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and during that talk, it just hit me, I mean, this is really quite natural, to feel a little low after that kind of an experience, in the jungle, with all the influences there and the visions and everything. Of course, you get a little low or even depressed, because last night I was thinking about this interview, and I was thinking back on my life, and I did have a close to death experience.
Oh, wow.
Many years ago. And I thought, yeah, it's very, very similar to that time, because after coming back from that experience, I got really depressed, because now, as it seemed, I knew it all, I've been there.
Yeah.
I watched what can happen, what can be.
Yeah.
So what am I doing back here? And I think doing ayahuasca, showing us so many different dimensions, is a little bit like dying.
It is.
It's a little bit like dying. You get some answers. You see another reality or realities.
Yeah.
And then you go back to your normal life, where it is a dualistic dimension.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We forget about that.
Yes.
So of course one gets the thoughts about, so I know it all now, so what am I doing here, and what is my purpose, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I also figured that my purpose, I have had my purpose all my life. It's just that I haven't realized it, to be here, and to be here in the moment, to teach myself a lot of things, to be curious, and to communicate that with others.
Yeah.
Family, friends, or co-workers, or whoever comes in your way, and whoever wants to listen, whoever is curious.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah.
I totally agree. I think it has to be like from the grassroots level first, like you said, friends and family, because that's actually the hardest. Like it's like for me, when I talk to my family and I try to explain how reality is, or if I explain to them what I had been through in the retreat, there's just so differently opinionated about the stuff, and then it's just really hard to, I'm not trying to force it upon anyone or anything like that, but it's just so different to how society works and how people think in cities, and it's really different to like what traditionally people usually think, in the ancient traditions, or so it's really hard to communicate that, but
and there's also so
challenge.
much fear because of all the all the regular drug users.
Exactly.
Drugs that are actually harmful to people and destroy people's lives and so on. And then so people tend to draw the line between everything, which is totally wrong. But it's very difficult to explain, of course, and to persuade anyone to think different. So when that happens, it has happened to me also. But when that happens, I just tell them, why don't you just Google it? Why don't that's my answer. That's my mantra, these days.
Just search
Google
for
it,
yourself.
make your own opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we can have a talk, you know. So, but do not condemn it. And I also give them the scientific perspective of it, because there has been research, and there is still going on research, as we know.
Yes. Yeah.
But there are so many different researches going on with ayahuasca, like Simon and Nige. They're doing they are doing one part, and the others are doing other things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you're right, because I think a lot of scientists are kind of studying about consciousness as well, and how, how that has evolved, and I guess trying to bridge the spirituality and that kind of thinking with science, I guess. Well, do you know Dr. Emoto? Have you heard of Dr. Emoto?
Emoto. No, I'm not sure. But I'm really bad with names, so no. So I could have, because I've read a lot, and I've watched a lot of. I think I must have watched all the YouTube documentaries on ayahuasca. And I've seen quite a few very boring, because they're all scientific and because parts of it is hard to understand for a layman. But I've gone through all that, and it is very interesting. And when it comes to consciousness, you said it's also really, really important with the meditation.
Oh, yes.
So, and I think since I've had so much in my life of meditating, and I'm still doing it, I think I was in another place than most people. Because I was really conscious within my visions, and I could analyze them inside my visions.
Yeah, right.
So that was also something I talked with Sophia about, and she said, she was agreeing on that part too, that if one is a meditator and doing ayahuasca, you find so many more dimensions, levels, on your experience, and it's easier somehow to integrate it, and there is less fear.
Yeah, okay.
Because you are in control.
Because you've experienced it through meditation before, and you kind of know, or is that the reason? Yeah.
Through meditation, you get a control over your mind. You can call it that. It's not really control, but you are so aware. So that in itself is like having control. Do you understand? It's I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear.
I think it's kind of like bringing the subconscious up to the surface so you can understand. Because I think in daily life, that's what I find. In daily life, the subconscious runs, and then we don't realize what we're doing sometimes. And when you have a minute to think about it, like the thoughts are really powerful, and you realize that's where it starts. And then all the actions, all the decisions that you make are influenced by your thoughts, kind of. I think that's where I get anyway, because I personally don't get any visions, which is sad. But I get like glimpses, or like not very strong visions, but like for example, when I meditate, or like in my daily life, sometimes I'll get intuitions or something like that. Like it's not actual visions, but it's just like a feeling, or like an aha moment. But it's through feeling and emotions, which I kind of get the messages from. Even with ayahuasca, it was the same with me, because like I was very stuck in like a mental space, so I had to intuit everything through emotion and feeling, and that's the way I had perceived everything. I didn't see much visions, just like very faintly. But I don't know. I guess everyone has a different experience.
Yeah, everyone had to. Yeah, you will always have different experiences as you go along. If you continue taking ayahuasca, every session is different.
Yeah.
I remember one time when I was only puking and shitting actually. 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I had no visions whatsoever. Nothing. I was on the toilet, in the bathroom.
Yeah. I had a similar experience too.
Yeah, and I was very disappointed. But it doesn't really matter because ayahuasca will work with you anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
And always get what you need. So the best way, which I found in the jungle, about the intentions.
Ah, yes.
What is intention with this session? Make it clear, say it out loud, write it on a piece of paper, do something to make that intention very strong, because that is what you will work with. So preparation is, of course, very important. Yeah, with this, because it's a healing drug. It's not a regular drug. You don't.
Exactly.
It's not a recreational drug.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I've been trying to explain to people. It's not for fun, It's like it's work. It's Yeah.
No, it's hard, but it's helping you to evolve and progress with your whatever. I mean, I call it spiritual life. But,
I mean, definitely. Because I think I found I kind of got a little depressed in the last couple of days actually, because I felt so much. It was just like I had met friends that were kind of they didn't drag me down, but they were in such a different world to what I was in before, and came back from the retreat. It was kind of, superficial and just it didn't have much sort of meaning, whereas ayahuasca shows so much meaning in your thought processing and in your life in general, and that's what I found. I tried to build relation with everything these days, even if it's just having my meal and praying, like I said, I form a relation to most things. I try anyway. So that's how I've been doing it. And then coming back to society, everyone's kind of disconnected from the spiritual world. They don't, it's such a problem here, especially in Sydney. People they think it's a funny thing. It's like a joke for them if you talk about spirituality, or if you talk about, the existence of another, I don't know how you would say it, but, it's just it's the driving force of us, but you can't see it, but it has such power, and people don't realize that it's kind of inverted, how society works. It's they think it's the kind of the physical first and then everything else, but it's actually the other way around. So it's very difficult to explain.
Yeah. Well, it can be difficult to explain, but if it has to do with belief systems, and people are also indoctrinated to think physical, from medicines to anything. It's just that is valid. But when they, scientists, people who with real knowledge, who have studied for years and years and years, professors, the higher you come in your studies when it comes to science, the more spiritual they get, because they understand more that it comes from outside, it's the thought first, it's an emotion first, and then it manifests.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does not, it's not the physical first, no. But it's the spiritual first.
Yeah.
Without that, nothing happens. Without that, nothing exists. Yeah. But the thing is also, we are all on different levels, spiritual levels, and and everyone can't be on the same level. It's just like going to school or university, you know. The ones who have been there before you are, of course, of a higher level, and you just have to work your way up. And those up there need to help the ones who are not evolved as much. Not to judge them, but just, you know, to guide them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in a way when, you know, like I had a professor in Tibetan, and he was a genius, you know. He was such a phenomenal brain. He was brilliant. But he couldn't integrate with others. So I always feared to ask him any questions, because he would give me these huge answers where he would draw up mathematical solutions about language, you know. And I had no idea what that was about. And it went on hours. So we who have a little bit of knowledge spiritually sometimes tend to do the same thing, you know. We speak out of our, you know, our level, but we have to go down and meet people on their levels.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so that's also another thing to actually remember. To, you know, you have to adapt to who you are talking to, and accept their, you know, their life paths and where they are.
Yeah,
and that's quite. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't be disrespectful of people, because everyone's on their journey at the end of the day. That's right. Yeah.
Everyone is on their own journey and have their own understanding of how the universe works, and they may be afraid of, you know, taking a jump, a huge jump, and they may not even be prepared. So, one has to be really careful with that, actually.
Yeah.
Otherwise, one can actually do a lot of harm, you know, to set people back even further back.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and I think it's probably like a bit of an ego thing as well. It's I've realized when I've like
a lot of things.
Yeah, it's really difficult for me to try and get rid of that. I'm trying hard, because I think like connecting to Mother Earth and stuff like that has really softened. Like when you're in nature, you can't lie, and that's what essentially the ego is. It's just like all the lies, but it's like really pulling at me, and I'm trying to let it go, like slowly, and it's just something I'm trying to work on.
But it's okay, Rose, because actually everything is perfect already.
Yeah, I like that saying.
This is something that people have so much difficulty to understand, that right now, right here, it is perfect. Even my depression is perfect, because it will teach me something.
Yeah.
And we can't have a happy life without depressions. You know, it's not done. It will never ever happen. In no, even if you ascend as a spiritual person, your soul ascends. It will not get easier.
No,
it will get harder.
Yeah.
You know, it will get more difficult. So accepting your difficulties here on this level.
Yeah.
That's a very good thing to do, and you should be happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, embrace your traumas, embrace any bad things that happen to you, because they will actually build you up and drive you forward. And you know, you use compassion. Yeah. Compassion is another very important thing to develop more. So if you, and that is, you know, my experience from the session where I was meeting my own death and going through the bardo.
Yeah.
That is the lesson I learned there to develop even more compassion and work on that. If you only work on your compassion, that will be fine. Yeah. That's all you need to do, because then anything that comes your way, you will look at it with compassion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you transform it into something good.
Yeah.
That is real happiness. Like that would be the happiness that will last, and you get wisdom.
Yeah.
And wisdom is something you can't learn,
No.
but you have to. You can't learn wisdom. That's fascinating, actually. So knowledge, of course, you can learn through books. You can get a lot of knowledge, but you will lose knowledge. Yeah. Wisdom you will take with you, and compassion will transform things into wisdom also.
Well, yeah, that's beautiful. And I see a lot of wisdom in you, so I believe.
I've had a lot of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've managed to transform it, like you said. And
that is my foundation. So I stand on the foundation of suffering, which will turn into happiness. So, but this is the same thing for every sentient being, because, and this is of course a Buddhist teaching, but I also found it within the ayahuasca sessions, that everything is suffering and everything is integrated. So you have to turn it around and transform it and use it. And because through suffering you do develop more compassion also, unless of course you get, or you let fear, ego control you.
Yeah, right. So, or don't listen to the message of the suffering, because I feel like pain and suffering, there's always a message. Like I had I had hit myself on the car door. And I was trying, it was just before going to visit my dad actually, and I just, because like through the processing I was like, oh okay, it's pain, but there must be a reason why I'm doing this. So I just thought about it, and I just, like all this stuff surfaced, and I was like, okay. So I learned that I was trying too much to maybe help or be kind, and like in the name of just to be nice, but that wasn't the case. So I should, like, the message was I should try and like love myself basically first, and then accept myself, and then through that I can help others. Otherwise there's like no strong foundation otherwise.
Right. So self-acceptance and self-love, which is the same also. Is you can't do anything without that. So anyway, all of these things are integrated. They are connected. There's no separation really, and once you start working with no separation, because it is hard for most people, since we are in a dualistic world. We are on a dualistic level here, so one has to free one's mind a little bit, which of ayahuasca is helping. And she continues to help, right? Like I feel that. You can do it. I mean, you can do it with pure meditation, what I have done for 30 years.
Wow.
I did get the same kind of visions and experiences as if I would have done ayahuasca. I didn't know it at that time, but now in retrospect, I do understand what that was. But I had living lamas who could coach me and who could explain, because we do need gurus or coaches or people to talk to who have already gone the path, who know the path, and it doesn't really matter what philosophical system you come from. Like it could be Christianity or any of the religious systems, right? But they are very, very similar, and your path will need when you're on your path, you will need someone who has gone before you.
Of course, definitely. No, I agree, definitely, because otherwise it would just be like, you wouldn't even understand anything, like what you're going through, or like it would be quite difficult to...
it will be harder.
It would be hard,
some people have it, like you've heard about the expression "old souls."
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And those are souls who have come back in my belief system, who have accumulated a lot of wisdom, and that is something one takes with you. If you believe in reincarnation, this is the main thing to develop wisdom, because that is what you take with you. And with more wisdom, you will understand the world much better where you come to. And it will help you. And so once one understands how everything is connected, like there's no void really. Void is also filled with something.
Yes. That's true.
These thoughts, everything is connected. You know how ayahuasca took me into her consciousness?
Yeah.
I think you remember, I was asking all these difficult questions, intentions that I had. And so she did. And it was like a warp, like in the universe. If anyone who has seen Star Trek or something like that knows what a warp is. Yeah. But this was much bigger, and it was enormous. It was endless, and took me into this with a speed of I don't know, how many light years. It was amazing, and that also showed like everything is connected. There is no beginning and no end.
You're right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. It's all infinite. It just goes like this, or I don't know what the shape would be, but it's infinite, right? Like there's no beginning, no ending.
And no beginning, no end. So it's the alpha and the omega, So these thoughts, they are not new at all. They are ancient thoughts.
Yeah.
And experiences.
Yes.
Ancient.
Yes.
But we do, at the same time as we do live in sort of the dark ages right now.
Yeah, I feel like it is.
We also have ascended a lot. Like never before.
I feel like it's a lot quicker, because if I look back, I really started on this path, not too long ago, if I think about it. Probably 2012 is when I started really finding the truth and knowledge and researching all these things. And before that, I was kind of like really, I didn't believe in spirituality that much. I knew that there was like spirit and soul and all these kind of concepts, but it's not that I didn't believe it, but I just didn't understand it maybe. And then, through like a 7-year, I guess, period, which is quite it's not that long if I think about it, 7 years, to be on this path. But
but you have your life ahead of you,
Of course,
you can't judge yourself like that. It's 7 years of your life is a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
thinking about your age.
Oh yeah, of course, relative to because like you said, everyone's kind of like indoctrinated when we're all born in trauma basically, and then we have to swim through all this, family trauma and all this other stuff. You can call it different things, but it is the DMT that is really difficult to navigate through when you are being born. So it's a trauma in itself if you don't have the knowledge. Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you don't have the knowledge, and that is why I asked personally for my own death, to experience it and to see what level am I on? Like how much have I evolved spiritually? Mm-hmm. This is why I wanted to see it. Could I really navigate through that?
Yeah.
Or could I not? But I could. And that's where I found compassion is helping you. Compassion equals wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. And I think that's one of the most important things that's lacking at the moment with people is compassion. Yeah, because I see so many people are like, they're not happy, but it's more than that. It's like, you know, for example, when I was bleeding, I was
Right.
I was quite relatively happy post retreat. Like I was not too bad, but then like this happened, and I was so like, it wasn't the pain that kind of made me like emotional, but it was more like the feeling, the actual emotion of like, you know, you have to suffer alone kind of thing, and then no one really noticed that I was bleeding, and because I had driven to the petrol station, and I was like, and then I realized like everyone's living in this world of like loneliness, of, you know, like they just didn't even bat an eye, like I'm bleeding, you know, and it was a big gash. So I mean, it's not like, you know, the service attendant couldn't see that I was, I mean, maybe he really just couldn't see it, but it was like strange.
No, they probably saw it, but
yeah, like it was subconscious.
But we're afraid to engage, you know.
Also that, yeah, and I found like yeah, engaging with people is really important actually. Just, you know, saying hello and yeah, just smiling, yeah, or whatever it is that you do. It's so important because I think a lot of people feel lonely, and it's sad.
To be more alive.
Yeah, exactly. That's the aim, to be more alive, to be more human.
Well, whatever that means.
Exactly.
To be more human, but I mean, that's a good thing to maybe contemplate on. You know, but
it's too broad.
Yeah. So you have, for your part, I mean, I'm not supposed to interview you, but your integration is pretty okay, I take it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's going well. Like, I feel like it's like I'm being synchronistically led to places, I guess. But it's been a slow kind of path. But then also, like, I've witnessed, you know, like mistakes and stuff that I've been doing, or things I need to learn. So I'm trying to process as much as I can, but then like things bog me down when I when I, you know, like meet people that are kind of like lower in energetics or something like this.
Right.
So sometimes it's hard to let that go, but I think self-love is really important when we go back into society. I think that we're just taught to hate ourselves. You know, it's such a hate culture. It's so horrible to say, but it's just like, you know, if we don't love ourselves first, and there's not much space to love others.
Right.
It's harder, for me anyway. That's what I've learned. So I mean, I'm sure you know about it because you're much wise in this like field. But
it's true.
But
it's true. You can't do anything for another person unless you have healed yourself first and be good to yourself. But there are so many different ways to do that. You know, some people may think, to be good to yourself is to go out and buy some nice stuff, or getting a massage, or getting whatever, you know, nice things. But being good to yourself and loving yourself may just need some acceptance of yourself. Like accept that you are not all that bright, perhaps, that you wish to be. Perhaps accept the fact that well, maybe you don't look like you know, I don't know, Madonna or Greta Garbo or whatever. Accept the way you are, because you are perfect. You are perfect for your life, for your experiences, and you've already made those choices before you were born to have these experiences. So you should be loving, you know, that, I do look a little bit like the witch's worst or something, but this is my path.
Yeah, that's right.
And I will use it to make the best of my life, you know, and yes, you can use anything, and you can if you accept yourself. And I mean, I'm talking to myself as well, because I still have quite a bit of ego and fear and so on.
I mean, everyone has ego, definitely. Everyone has ego, but it's just kind of like, transforming the negative aspects of the ego and making it the positive. Like you were saying, how you transform suffering, which is really difficult because it sometimes sticks around and it doesn't want to let go,
No, the thing is to dig in, into that mush, dig in and feel it and smell it, feel it, and feel sorry for yourself or whatever you need to do. And then you get out of it and you shake it off, and you had like a mud bath. You get better. Yeah, it's so, and that is also loving yourself. You dig into the suffering and you embrace it and you feel it and you work with it, and you will understand that this is going to be something good for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Once one starts practicing these things, you can start with a little thing, like if you hurt yourself, or if you don't get that promotion, or small things. You can start if you start looking at them with a positive mindset, you will see that something better will come along.
That's right.
Something better. If you look at it that way, and I've practiced it for many, many, many years, and every time I lost something, I said, well, that is probably the best thing that could have happened now, because something better is coming. That's how I have dealt with things, even and anything actually.
Yeah, so, I think it's really easier said than done. It's quite difficult to transfer. Yes, because it's really difficult for me, for example, because I was grown up to think negatively. I think most people are, to just project that and create that, negative world. And then it physically manifests as well, in your life. Like you create like horrible experiences for yourself, not in every sense, but like maybe, I don't know, for example, like there was a period in my life where I was not like the best, like staying in the best place, or like even mentally the best. Like I had like so many experiences, and if I look back now, I did kind of, I made the choice to be that way, no matter what had projected onto me. I made that choice to do it, to think that way or to be that way. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what gets thrown at us. It does matter about our choices, our decision making, and we have to take responsibility as well, I think.
Right. Yeah. But that is, so you made those decisions, bad decisions or whatever. You bought into the negativity, etc.
Yes.
But I'm sure that is also a good thing, because if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't see how to change it, and do something better. So it's all experience.
That's true.
And so it's all, if we only could see that, but it's all part of who we are going to develop. There's one thing I want to say, and that is, there is the only constant in the universe is change.
Yes, I know this. I also think about that,
Yeah, that's the only constant in the universe, change. And we will, every sentient being on this planet, in the universes around, every sentient being is going to be enlightened. It's the law of karma. It's unavoidable.
Yes.
Everything is evolving. So, and when you think about that, that is quite big, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's quite big. So when you think about it, then at least I feel a lot better. because then I have to push myself and to beat me down so much, for not progressing fast enough or whatever. Because time, as we know it, does not exist.
Yes.
Time in itself has a consciousness, but that's another story. It's a very big.
It's very complicated.
So we can't go into that. But what is? I just want to say that the one constant is change. Nothing lasts forever. Not suffering, not happiness, nothing. It's a good thing, So if you move with change, you will have a really nice flow.
Yes.
Yeah, you will have, and not nice like we are indoctrinated to think about nice. Nice for our evolution, our progress, our spiritual beings. Yeah. It may hurt sometimes, but because you will bump into things. But if you just follow, the flow, it will be quite good actually.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think ultimately.
But there's no such thing as no suffering or like everything is going to go smooth.
Of course.
There's no such thing. But if we embrace it, then it can't hurt us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
If we welcome it.
That's right. As opposed to suppressing it, because it gets worse if you just push it down and ignore it, don't listen to it.
Then it will grow.
Yeah, exactly.
If you suppress something, it will grow stronger.
Yeah.
And it's same thing for us. When life will suppress us, we grow stronger. So all that suffering that's coming onto us, we will get stronger. So it's all like a dance,
Yeah.
It's all like a tango. You have to follow each other, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
Oh, I love this talk.
Yeah, it's going really good. Should we start with the questions then? The ones, the other ones that I had as well.
I would probably have to repeat myself a lot.
No.
No?
No, that's okay. I think, alright, 1 second, sorry. I'm just going to check because I had them, okay. Oh, so, yes. So we talked about ayahuasca, that's fine. But, okay, how do you believe healing occurs?
Healing occurs, actually, in the way I see it. Healing occurs in the way I just spoke about compassion and wisdom and so on. But then, of course, there are so many, you can go into specific healings, like if you are sick or something.
Yes.
You can actually, you can. I heard and I read about this study. It's quite old now. It was done in the 80s, I think, or no, 90s. An American study on prayer.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes. And there have been so many studies, but this big study was made on prayers. And they said if prayer was a pill or medicine, it will sell out. That's good. That's how good. Yes, that's how good it is. Mm-hmm. So prayer is actually, in many cases, much better than any classical, medicine.
Yes.
And that is, so you can pray for yourself and feel compassion for yourself, because prayer is very closely connected with compassion.
Yes.
And the best prayer, the one that works the most is that one that is not directed. Like if you, instead of saying I want this sore to be healed or this cancer to be healed, it does work. But if you say let me heal for the best of the universe or something like that, like non-specific, and then you add Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
Onto that, because Amen means that what will be. So it's not directed. It's not directed. So that is the best working prayer, actually.
Yeah, right.
That is the best working prayer. But it's all connected with compassion, which is wisdom, and that is where the best healing will occur.
Okay. Yeah, of course, because you never know what the universe wants to tell you, right? So even though you want to heal, you get...
So because once we have a certain amount of suffering in our lives and a certain amount of happiness in our lives, then it's all weighed in these, whatever it's called.
Scales, you mean? Like the,
Scales, so it's all well weighed there, and there has to be a balance.
Yes.
So if you take too much suffering, it's going to weigh you down too much.
Yeah, right.
So unless you are able to deal with the suffering, you should not take on more suffering than you can handle. And we do that unconsciously, like you were talking about before, our subconscious. Yeah. Our subconscious, we have no clue about our subconscious. It's true. Vast. It's just as vast as all the universes together. Like when ayahuasca took me into her consciousness.
Yeah, right.
It's just as vast. Our consciousness, because we're all connected.
Yeah.
It's all
we are. We are. Sorry, I just wanted to say, because I do think that we are like living universes. We create worlds, and we do have the power to connect, to the actual universe. So it is something because I do believe that it's not just like we're on this planet and that we're kind of separated, but I think that we're here together experiencing Mother Earth, the universe, and things that maybe don't necessarily realize they have a consciousness, but we're like fragmented parts of that have come to experience, parts of
it's true.
The universe.
I mean, your body, your vessel, contains millions, trillions of entities. in you. Just because 70 or how much percentage is it? 80% of you is water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and one drop of water in itself is a universe. There are so many things inside a drop of water.
Yeah, right.
I'm not a scientist, but I know these things.
No, actually, that's what.
Yeah, so of course, I mean, and you have a lot of stuff going on, all the bacterials and those are entities. those are also sentient beings.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way, so I think you can say that you in yourself, you're a universe, of course.
Yeah.
On one level. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Say that. And you do make up your own world. That's for sure. By your own thoughts. Yes. That's for sure. But just like there are so many living things inside a water drop, the same way are we connected with anything, so there is no separation really.
No. Yeah, that's right.
We just think.
Yeah.
We are.
That, yes. But there is a unification. Yeah. Yeah, I was just, because I mentioned Dr. Emoto. That was he had the study of water having consciousness. So maybe you heard about him. He had put the experiment with the water that had full of love, like he would talk lovingly to the water, and he scopically viewed it, and it was like a snowflake. It had like a beautiful pattern, and then when water was like, you know, played heavy metal, or it was like given really, it was like a blob, like a black, you know, and he had seen it through like a microscope. I think that's how he had performed the experiment, but it actually exists, you know, like this energy frequency, or however you want to call it, like it's I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, you could call it like entities or living specimens inside water, you know, because it does have memory as well. Like the studies showing that water has memory. And like you said, we're 70-80% of water. So what does that say? Like our memory is really important, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, once you start dissecting all of this, that's when you start seeing like how huge it is.
Yeah.
Everything is, you know, how complex everything is. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. You don't really have to go into all that. All you need to do is, again, work on your compassion, because that will, you know, shine out.
Yes.
So it will affect everything around you. It will affect your plants, your furniture, your everything.
That's true.
Everything around you will be affected by your compassion, your accumulated compassion, and it will never cease.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes, that is, and I mean, I'm not. These things I have been taught also by my gurus, by like my first Lama and teacher is Situ Rinpoche, and I have, you know, I've read him so much, and of course I have Dalai Lama and the Karmapa as well, but not on the same level. So these are thoughts that I have been taught by masters.
Yes, yeah.
But I have experienced them in ayahuasca.
Yeah.
So that's where I got my insight. I got the knowledge from my masters, and of course they have transcended, initiated through their initiation. Various practices. Of course, they have also initiated me to their wisdom. But to accumulate your own wisdom, you have to experience yourself. And that is what is called insight. So I can never get insight from my teachers. I need it for myself. Yeah. So that is actually what ayahuasca did for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you never.
So first, the wisdom.
Yes.
No, I got the knowledge, the teachings, and all that.
Okay.
The trend. Yeah. And then when I did the ayahuasca, I was able to get the insights.
That's really similar to my experience then, because I mean, I haven't been on the same path or the same knowledge quest as you, but when I had like such an immense emotional attachment to truth, you know, that was like my basis, my foundation of what I wanted to do. And then it slowly became like spiritual, and I had formed my own kind of beliefs around what truth was, but that was like my foundation. So I had learned, researched, and gained knowledge and stuff like this, but I didn't experience. I mean, I had certain experiences throughout life, but ayahuasca gave me like the intense experience of actually understanding these concepts within myself, which I hadn't faced it like that before taking ayahuasca. And I was like, okay, wow. And I didn't, I mean, so I learned, I guess, the hard way of experiencing some of the negative aspects as well as the positive, I guess, on this.
Necessary, yeah.
Yeah, it's necessary.
Necessary.
Yeah.
And but like if you welcome things that might at first glance might look fear, you know, like dangerous or scary or, you know, negative in some way, if you embrace them, they will become your friend, and they will transform.
It's like what you
think.
Yeah.
And emotions or anything. So and so healing, how healing occurs is by meditating, by doing yoga, by contemplating, by surrounding yourself with I have crystals.
Oh yeah, crystals have power, definitely. I have crystals here too. Yeah, me too. I have like a plate of crystals here. I like amethyst. Yeah.
Don't just let them sit there.
No.
But feel them, use them.